Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Will Dinwiddie here. Today's word is transform. Definition of transform is make a thorough or dramatic change in form, appearance, or character, So, transforming yourself is really just making a decision to do something and then doing it. The reason why I got to look the way I look now and to be as strong as I am now is because one day, a long time ago, I decided that I was no longer going to allow myself to stay small. I was going to do something about it. And it took a long time for me to ultimately transform into what you see today, but from being an 88-pound kid. But it started from the moment that I decided that I was no longer going to just take being small anymore. And I can take it back to when I was 5 years old, when I first started, when the idea that I wanted to be big and strong first got planted into my head when I saw Conan the Barbarian for the first time. When I first saw that movie, it made me I wanted to look like that when I grew up. I just didn't know how to do it. And I remember growing up, looking at baseball, collecting baseball cards and basketball cards and football cards, and then looking at the people on these cards and saying to myself, I want to look like that. So I guess if I want to look like that, I got to do what those guys are doing. So from a young age, I played sports because I thought it would make me bigger and stronger, but it wasn't doing it like I wanted it to. And it wasn't until I had been through enough trial and error of realizing that sports weren't doing it, and then being bullied for long enough that I just decided that what I was doing wasn't working, and then I needed to try something new. And then I started lifting weights, and then and I realized that was what it was for me. So I just started pursuing that full time as often as I could. I stayed. The first day I worked out, I can remember I remember going into the gym, being one of the first ones into the gym, and then I was the last one to leave. They had to ask me to leave because I remember just the first time I worked out, I just couldn't get enough of it. I just found it. It kind of found me, found my passion at a young age, at 15. But I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I just always wanted to do it, and I transformed myself. What I want to share with you also is that it took a lot longer for me to transform my mind, because for a lot of years I still had issues with like my parents and stuff, and so with just the way I was raised and the way we grew up, I just wasn't happy with some things, and I just felt unhappy with myself that I could never tell my parents how I truly felt, and so I had to make a change one day, and it was actually in the beginning of this year, and I'm 34 years old, so I was 34 years old basically when I kind of communicated with my parents how I really felt. And you know what? Ever since that point, it's like this weight has been lifted off of me. It's like I carried a burdenous weight of my own burdens that I was creating for myself because I didn't tell the truth. When they say the truth sets you free, it's so true. The truth will transform you. If you tell the people around you how you really feel about them, your real feelings about them, not in a way that you want to push them away or that you don't want them in your life, but in a way that reflects how you really feel. And if you do it in a way that's like, hey, you know what? I just want to work on this and make the most of our time. So, the relationship that I have with my parents is improving, because now we know each other better. So now we can it was hard at first, and it was hard for a while. But now we're starting to understand each other and learn more about each other. And so it's like life has improved. I don't want to live the rest of my days feeling bitterness or anger inside of myself toward anybody. And I knew I had that, and I had to let that go. And how I let that go was by telling myself, okay, you're going to be honest and you're going to tell the truth and you're going to do this thing. Transforming myself, transforming my old way of thinking where I used to think, nope, if they don't want to come around and do the right thing and be the parent, then I'm not going to, or if I don't go out there and start lifting and I just continue to take what everybody dishes out to me, then that's the way it's going to be. No, I knew that. I was like, no, you know what? Getting bullied and stuff as a kid, I knew that it wasn't like that. I knew that it didn't have to be that way because I saw other people that didn't get bullied. I saw all the cool people that everybody liked and wanted to be around and wanted to be friends with, and I wanted to be friends with those people, but I just didn't know how, and I didn't know how to be how I am now with my energy back then. I just didn't know how to control myself. I didn't have the right guidance, and so, but if it wasn't for me making a change and deciding that I was worthy to have friends that were good friends, I just had to be a good friend if I wanted to have those good friends on my side. I knew that if I wanted to be big and strong, I had to act like it, like I had to go in the gym and be as strong as I could that day and be as big as I could within myself that day to lift a little bit more weight or to go in there and do it again a day after day after day, even if it doesn't feel like you're making gains. It took 13 months for me to gain my first 10 pounds. For 13 months I went working out without making any gains. That's hard to deal with mentally, to how you're putting in all this effort and nothing's happening. Like you think nothing's happening, but something is happening. Things are happening, it's just not on the scale that you see. And then you got to understand some things. Maybe your muscles are so small that it's going to take a lot to build them up before you actually start feeling the growth. And then if you're not eating right, you're not going to grow properly. I wasn't eating right back then. I didn't know how to eat well. I wasn't eating enough, like I would have grown better had I have known some of those things from back then. But this was the greatest part of the journey. The transformation of the journey is the everything I learned along the way, all the things that came to me, but they just came to me slow. They came to me at the pace that I could take and I could handle and I could retain. So sometimes I think it came slow, and I'm like, no, it came at the right time, because I couldn't have handled it at any faster of a rate. I couldn't have handled it without jeopardizing my integrity for myself. So for me, it happened in the right order, and for you, it's going to happen in the right order for you too, whatever that order is for you. But as you transform yourself, you just basically have to turn a switch where you 180 your way of thinking, and then you follow through with that way of thinking through practice and repetition every day, all day long, every day, all day long. The more you do that, it's like you won't recognize it at first, because at first you're still stuck on the old beliefs and you're trying to fight through all that to become a new you. A year passes, 5 years pass, and if you're where I'm at now, where it's been almost 20 years, you look back and you're just like, it couldn't have happened any other way. I'm glad for the way it's happened. And you just want to keep going further. Like my goals haven't ceased. I have, the reason why I don't stop competing and I don't stop training so hard, even at this stage in the game, is I just know I have more in me, and I have great role models around me that have done it, that are older than me, that are still getting stronger. So it's like I have great role models that I strive to emulate, that I strive to kind of want to be like. I want to do my own thing, but I know it's possible because I got older friends of mine that are older that have done it and they're still doing it. And then I know how to teach it, so I know how to give it away, So it's like part of my transformation was also learning how to, once I got to a good enough level where I knew enough to keep myself going, I decided that I was like, I want to show other people how to do this, because I know how to do it so well, and I love it, and I'm around it all day long, and it's just a transformation of your mind. Back in 2011, I didn't believe that I could do it. Before February, when I bought the NASM program in January, I didn't believe that I could do it. I had a lack of self-confidence, and it wasn't until I switched my mind when I was at school one day and I was doing homework and I was watching Madison, my daughter, in the other room, all by herself on the floor when she was like a year and a half old or something like that. And I just remember feeling like I can't do this, like if I was going to school to be a paramedic, and I was like I can't do this. Like I can't do something that I know is just something that's going to be temporary for me. If I'm going to put this kind of effort in, if my daughter's going to have to sacrifice, I'm going to have to sacrifice. I'm going to do something I love, and I'm going to be happy about it, and that way, at least I give the best effort to the people around me that I care about the most. I give them my best energy, because I just wasn't happy, where I was, and I had to transform my mind and make a switch. And once I switched it, I said, I'm not pursuing paramedic. I am now going to pursue my true passion of being a personal trainer. And I don't care how hard it is. That's the road I'm going to be on. I had a good friend of mine that was living with me at the time that inspired me to chase my dream, and that's what I did. And so I had to transform myself, and I had a great example to follow. And so that's what I want to be for you, is a good example to follow. So if you want to change your life, you have to transform your way of thinking, and to transform yourself, you just flip a switch. It's a 180. It's like you're no longer this, you are now this. And then your whole life is now about developing the new you. So to develop the new you is going to require effort on a daily basis. Okay, so that's it. Word of the day was transform. I hope that helps you guys out. And as always, don't be average, be epic, baby.